Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Welcome, everybody. We are sometimes in the summer, we do book clubs because the summer is a good time. Most people have a little more relaxed schedule sometimes. And also it's nice because even if you're like in and out of town, you could come in once and then read the book and then come in the next time. Or so book clubs, yeah, we realize that book clubs really help for the summer. Also a heads up about the summer, we are switching to summer schedule, which means this month we're having classes once a week. Next month, for 3 of the weeks, we're not having classes. And then after that, as Elul's coming closer, then we'll get back into gear, 2 classes a week and Farbrengens and all back to the fun. So that is, yeah, that's the summer vibe in Crown Heights. Okay, so a few years ago, this is actually our 4th year, but I think on the 3rd or 2nd year of going to do a Shabbaton by Raishal Mordechai Rabashkin in the Aleph Beis Gimel house in Jackson, New Jersey. We found a few copies of this incredible booklet in the Shabbaton house, and a few of us read it. And for me, sadly, I left my copy, but my copy is like raggedy and torn and full of notes on the inside. So Be'ezus Hashem, next week I'll bring my copy so everyone can see it. But this book has really, 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 truly changed my life. Every time I think I read it and then I get it, and then as soon as I finish, I just open it up again and I read it again, and then it's just like, it's like that breath of fresh air that we really, really need sometimes in life. I've read and I've taught, if anybody wants to go back on our YouTube or our other places, but I've taught Shar Bitachon in the past. And there's something so incredibly pure and tangible because Rabbi Shal Mordechai Rabashkin really brings it down to nuggets, like really practical lessons, and it's just so relatable. He tells it in such an interesting and okay, wow, yay, that is so special. What a schus. Anyway, so I really, really love how he does it, and he breaks it down into 8 Torah principles to provide clarity, strength, and emotional well-being. And it's really, really powerful. So we're going to start. I was thinking about going around the reading, but then if you feel comfortable, you don't have to be on the video, but when you're reading, if you feel comfortable to take the mic, so then please offer to read. We would love that. Even if you don't show up, even if it's just the audio, I want to make sure that the recording also catches what we're reading. Any questions before we get started? Okay, cool. Or do you have any questions over yonder? Oh, okay. All right, so let's get started. Okay. So we're going to start by the introduction, where he's going to describe what all 8 of the principles are, and then we're going to we'll get started in some of them. So, solid foundations, 8 Torah principles to provide clarity, strength, and emotional well-being. I'm going to read, and then we'll discuss, and I'll read and we'll discuss, and that's how it's we'll do it together. When asked to distill the source of clarity and strength that carried me through the 10 years of Nisayan with focus, inner peace, and even joy, I point to 8 principles of Torah and Avodah. So all of us, and actually I think this is a good time to pause and say, if all of us take a moment and close our eyes, or don't close your eyes, but you think about an assignment that you're facing right now, a test that you feel like is really intense, and you're feeling tested or you're feeling squeezed, and what what are the, if we have clarity on what that test is, so now we're going to apply these principles and see if it can help relieve some of that pressure and give us clarity on how to move forward. Okay. Together, these principles provide a yid with truth and clarity that are the foundation of emotional well-being and dispel the numerous confusions and distortions which are at the root of emotional distress. So what are the 8 foundations? Number 1, neshama. So each of these, it's a different chapter, and we're going to delve into it. Okay, so now it's just the list. Number 1 is neshama. Number 2, emuna. Number 3, bitachon. Number 4, kavanas habriya. Number 5, tera. Number 6, mitzvahs. Number 7, tshuva. And number 8, simcha. I skipped a footnote by mistake when it's talking about the fact that he was able to go through 10 years of tests, even with joy. So the footnote on the bottom says, this was even noticeable to those around me, to the point of being my defining characteristic. One of my fellow Jews in a place called prison told my family of a conversation he overheard between 2 guards not long after my miraculous release. Who is the guy that got a commutation? One of them was asking the other. Searching for a way to describe me, the other guard didn't use any physical characteristics or even a memorable anecdote to identify me. You know that guy who was always happy? He said, that guy. Can you imagine? Like, he is in a place called prison. Like, literally, he has no choice of anything in his life. He is stuck in his body or his entire being. I know that he speaks about it, not his neshama, but he's stuck in a cell by the rules, and he is surrounded by real criminals. And he was happy. Like, that hits a whole other note. Okay, let's turn the page to page 2. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Somebody brought up, it said that it wasn't toxic positivity. Correct. He wasn't just drowning himself in positivity in a way of suffocation. I think that's one of the ways to describe toxic positivity. And it's so true, because it was, especially if you read like the thicker book and you really hear the stories, he really found Hashem and his neshama and Emuna and Bitachon and all of these things we're going to discuss. He found it within him, and that's what led to the positivity. Okay, so page 2. When they are properly understood and applied to real life, these foundations ensure that a yid will enjoy emotional well-being no matter what he experiences or faces in life, good or bad. They are the keys to clarity, a compass to guide him through any storm. They keep him centered on Hashem and cognizant that Hashem is the source of all brachas, protecting him from the false pride that undermines his connection to Hashem. They invigorate his life and provide the foundation for good middays. How many times, I know that there's two types of relationship that we have when we're being tested. Some people, when life is good, that's when they feel connected, they feel inspired, they feel connected to Hashem, and that's when they're like, wow. And some people, when life is not good, that's when they like cry out to Hashem. Sometimes it's the flip side. So let's say if I'm the type of person that I feel inspired when I feel like life is good and I see Hashem's brachas. So then when life doesn't feel so good, am I still turning to Hashem? Do I still have that same relationship, and do I still have that same perspective on what Hashem is doing to me? Or do I feel like I'm a victim to what he's doing to me? He's punishing me, or he's putting me through a struggle that is so unfair and so, right? So there's different times when we relate to Hashem differently. And as we're going to learn, we can actually bring Hashem in every single aspect and still try and connect to him in that stage. Okay, now where they insulate. So they insulate a yid from the influence and perspective of the world around him and the many emotional struggles that flow from them. so common in those around him, like low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, trauma, etc. It's not my purpose here to list all important principles or to establish the truth of these principles. The intended audience for this writing is from Yidden, for whom that should not be necessary. And there's many Sfarim and books, and many Sfarim and books have been written for that purpose of those that might need them. Instead, I'm simply identifying and highlighting aspects of those principles that enable us to shoulder our burdens, face our challenges with clarity and strength, and live our lives with dedication, energy, and enthusiasm. This purpose has also dictated the order of my list. The foundation of all foundations is obviously to believe in and know about Hashem. As the Rambam puts it in the opening of the Yad HaChazaka, here, however, since we're discussing the practical application of already recognized and accepted principles, we will start with the topic of neshama, which is the practical start that sets us on the right track. Okay, so we're not going to get into what is the neshama, or is the neshama real, or what is Hashem even real? Like, we're not getting into that. We're assuming, or we're coming into this conversation with understanding that we are well aware of what Hashem is, what the neshama is, what's Torah, what mitzvah is. Now we're just going to delve deeply and apply them to what we're going through. Okay. Writing about the fundamentals of Torah and Yiddishkeit, where the wrong word or even the smallest nuance can have drastic implications, is always a task undertaken with trepidation. I beseech Hashem to guide my pen to express the truth of Torah. So that is the introduction by Rabbi Rabashkin. Okay, number one. Does anybody feel comfortable reading and recording? If not, I'll continue. I don't want you guys to get bored of my voice. Okay, go for it. And then I'll stop you every few.
All right. At my core.
Yeah, 1 second. Oh, I'm gonna just put that on.
All right. Neshama. At my core, I am a neshama. That changes everything. At the start of our tefillos each morning, we say, Elokai neshama she'nasata bi tahirahi. Hashem, the neshama you have placed within me is pure. This neshama is the essence of who we are and should define us. Letting other aspects of our being define us causes many problems, particularly when we face adversity. Should I continue?
Yeah.
Oh. Our bodies and neshamas are integrated and seem to be one entity, but in fact, they are two distinct and separate entities with different functions rooted in two very different realities. The body, by which I mean primarily the nefesh that animates the body, is a native of the natural world. Its instincts, perspectives, and desires are shaped by the rules that govern it and the values that derive from it. When it faces a problem, it interprets it and responds to it based on the natural order of the world.
Okay, let's take a pause here. So basically we have, so basically we are made up of two entities. And when we enter the world and when we approach the world and we see it that way, it's already a different experience. Entities, yeah, but what's the, oh man, there's a word for it. Two different, Matthias, yes. Thank you, that was the word I was looking for. Okay, so if we have, which is actually tonight, we're going out of Yud Gimel Tammuz, but there's a famous story of the Frierdiker Rebbe where he was being interrogated, and at one point it was a table full of interrogators. They all had their personal guns, and they also in front of them had guns. So they were like really trying to scare the Frierdiker Rebbe. And they asked him to please explain to them the depths of Judaism and how does Kabbalah work? Who's Hashem? So he's sitting there he knows that they don't agree with him, and he's being asked to answer all these questions. And at one point, he said, I'm more than happy to answer you, and I'm in no way changing my answers because of the situation. But you should know that there's a difference between, oh, man, I just learned that yesterday. I could spend the entire night telling you how the food you eat turns into your body and your strength. But if we do that and we wait and you don't eat the food, you just learn it intellectually, it's not going to fulfill you, and it's going to take a long time to explain it, and you won't have food to be able to survive. It's a whole whatever. But point is, he was telling them, in order to truly understand Judaism, you have to be in it. You have to try the mitzvahs. You have to sit at a Shabbos table. You have to attempt at kashrus, and you can't just explain it this way. And they got really upset by his answer, and they basically took a gun and pointed at him and said, well, explain it to me now. And he said, the interrogator said something along the lines of, this toy makes a lot of dumb people talk. And the Frierdiker Rebbe said, that toy scares anybody who believes that they have, that they are, should we unclick this? Mm-hmm. Yay! This toy scares people who have one world and many gods. But if you believe that there's one God and many worlds, or two worlds, so then my existence, A, Hashem is still in charge of this gun, and B, my world will, there you go, my world doesn't end in this world. Just Eilam HaGashmi is not the only one. There's still, yes, yeah, exactly. So when we live life as a Jew, when we live life with the mindset, which is, I didn't bring, oh, here, our Living Chassidus logo, right, that we put on our Hashem glasses, we see the world through Hashem Echad, through Hashem's perspective, then we're able to have clarity. We're able to realize that as much as we have two neshamas, we have two separate beings, we have our body and we have our soul, we need to have clarity about which is which one's talking, how does this all apply. And one second, I lost my train of thought for a minute. And so when we're able to realize that we have two aspects to our lives, sometimes it gives us the clarity to be able to step away from a stressor, from being anxious, from being nervous, from being in a bad place, because we're able to realize, A, who's talking. If we only feel like there's one being, then we kind of feel like we're schizophrenic sometimes. Like we have two voices fighting each other constantly. What is wrong with me? But when we realize there's two voices, because there's the nefesh bahamis, there's our bodily needs or our bodily desires, and there's also the nefesh elokis, and they disagree essentially on many things. So now we're going to discuss how these two work together.
Where was I?
The neshama. Oh,
The neshama is
Yeah.
from a different.
Okay, thanks. The neshama is from a different reality, the world of holiness and truth. Its instincts, perspectives, and desires are shaped by the truth of Torah, and the values that derive from it. When it faces a problem, it interprets it through the clarity of Torah and responds accordingly. These two opposing forces each claim to define us and to accurately present the world around us. The body urges us to think of ourselves primarily as a body, begrudgingly saddled with a neshama. It asserts that the world is as it appears and claims that we need to center ourselves on that reality and respond to it on its terms if we are to thrive or even just survive. It encourages us to pursue physical pleasure and self-serving pursuits.
Okay, so if we take a moment to process this, and we realize that in reality, most of our lives, we are battling this identity crisis. Do I identify mostly with my neshama? Do I feel inspired and excited to do Torah mitzvahs? Do I feel Hashem in my life, and do I feel like this infinite power? Or do I mostly spend my time connected to my nefesh bahamis, which is my body, which relates to nature, which means if by natural law this is how it works, then this is how the only way that it's going to work. Like, we don't see miracles ahead, or we don't see a possibility which is beyond what we can comprehend. So I'll give you an example. Every person that we speak to that buys a house in Crown Heights, literally every single person says it was a miracle. It's ask anybody. Like, you could knock on people's doors and say, hi, how did you buy your house? They will all tell you it was some sort of miracle story. So we could live life in the world of, because the world says XYZ, so therefore those are the rules I stand by, those are the rules I live by. Or we could also have the perspective of our neshama. We could connect to our neshama and appreciate the godliness in this world, that Hashem can go above and beyond, and he can truly make miracles happen. There's just, I mean, around the table, there's many people that are involved in shidduchim. So sometimes it feels like, okay, b'derech hateva, according to the world, I have to do 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4, and you do have to do those steps. But just know, for anyone who's married, that at the end of the day, the steps were just the steps. The fulfillment of the bracha was entirely a miracle, was entirely Hashem. Like, we have to do our process, but if we live with our neshama as our primary identity, then we're able to connect to something beyond nature. Does that make sense? Okay.
You're a miracle.
The neshama insists that we are actually souls tasked with elevating the body.
But it takes practice.
Yes. That's why you don't see it in this one, but I read this over and over and over because it takes a lot of practice. 100%.
It asserts that the world is not what it appears to be. The truth about the world is to be found in the Torah, and we need to center ourselves on that reality. Everything about ourselves and everything we experience needs to be understood through Torah in order to know how to act and react properly. It encourages us to pursue connection with Hashem and fulfill the mission he gave us, which will bring true brachos and enjoyment in this world and the world to come. Which one is correct? Who am I, and what kind of world do I live in? What is valuable in life? Getting this right is the first and most important thing, and it's doubly important when confronting a challenge. Getting it wrong has serious consequences. When we think of ourselves as a body inhabiting a dangerous and indifferent world and react to our troubles from that perspective, we actually set aside the divine strength and transcendence of our neshamas and become subject to all the limitations inherent in nature. Not only that, but our neshamas are also dragged down with our bodies and suffer those constraints.
One more paragraph.
The result will be fear and anxiety, causing us to feel overwhelmed, outmatched, and vulnerable. Rabbeinu Bachaya writes that when a person sees the world as a force to be reckoned with and puts his trust in reassuring elements of the world, Hashem allows that natural process to unfold. That means that the person who defines himself as subject to the natural world doesn't only feel vulnerable, he truly becomes vulnerable.
Okay, so I think we need to process this for a minute. When learning Shar Bitachon, we learn that when we're able to primarily identify with our neshama, when we're able to see through Hashem glasses and see the world from the Torah perspective, because again, what was created first? The Torah was created first, and that was the blueprint that Hashem used to then create the world. So imagine you take, just such a funny joke with a lot of people, but there's a constant running joke between men and women and whether or not we read the directions before we do things. So some of us, I won't say which is which, but some of us just like grab the box of the new thing and we're just like tinkering with it and press the buttons and like pick it up and flip it upside down and like try to unscrew the thing and rescrew the other thing. Other of us open the box, read the instructions, which one's the power button, how do I open it, how do I turn it on, how to turn it off, right? So if we read the instructions, we usually get a better gist of how to do the thing properly, the way that it was created, the way that it was meant to be used. So when we identify with our neshama, when we connect to Torah, when we look towards Torah, which is the guidebook, the actual precursor that led to this world being created, then we're actually doing the steps right. We're perceiving, we're acting, we're reacting to whatever the world throws at us from the right perspective. Does that make sense? Now, as we said earlier, this is not easy peasy schmageasy, as my kids say. You don't just read the book once, close it, and like, that's it. I am magically doing the thing. But if we constantly work on it, then we can learn to spend more time really connecting with our neshama and identifying with our neshama, and then we'll be able to connect to that and do the world in a better way, so to speak. Do you want me to keep reading, right? Do you want me to keep reading? Would that be easier for you? Okay. Okay, fine. See.
Wow, look at you multitasking.
It's
a miracle.
Yeah. All right. This is why recognizing and embracing your core identity as a neshama and the clear-eyed perspective on reality that comes with that is such an important foundation. When we embrace our identity as a neshama and express it through Torah and mitzvahs, we bring the strength and the clarity of the neshama to bear on our situation. By connecting to Hashem, we can tap into his infinite strength and overcome the obstacles we face. The feelings of fear, anxiety, and vulnerability find no ground to take root because the world in which threats have power, independent of Hashem, is seen as the illusion it is. Instead, our neshama recognizes the Torah as the correct address to properly understand our situation and to direct us in navigating it successfully, when we might otherwise have looked to the world or to other nations.
Yes. So we take a moment to think about this, and we realize, as he's about to explain in a little bit, that when we see the world through Hashem glasses, which we're gonna get to, we're about to get to, when we see the world through Hashem glasses, then we don't have to be worried about what could have, should have, would have, because Hashem is in charge. We also don't have to worry about what's gonna be in the future because Hashem is in charge, and we realize that Hashem is a loving father who's not out to torture us, which we're going to delve into that deeply. So hold your horses, as they say. The other piece I wanted to share is that if we're constantly working towards this perspective and this viewpoint of having our Hashem glasses, then we don't have to live or be dragged down, as the wording was over here, by the laws of nature. Just because it doesn't make sense, it doesn't mean that we have to live within that framework. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay.
In talking with many people about their challenges in life, I found that some are misled into thinking that since other nations face what seem to be similar challenges and have developed an approach to addressing them, we can adopt or adapt these approaches to our own lives. I would say that we shouldn't, but the truth is that we simply can't. Not only are we not starting from the same conception of reality, we are simply not like the nations around us. Our core, our neshama, is fundamentally different, which means that the causes of our emotional distress are different. And because of our neshama and our connection to Hashem, the way we combat that emotional distress is different as well. Recognizing that we're different should make it very obvious that we need to turn to Torah. You have to use the solution that matches the problem. Even if someone else will pull up to a gas pump when their car is empty, someone driving an electric car won't even consider it. That solution, effective as it may be for everyone else, is simply not relevant for this car.
I love that muscle and I use it all the time. I love this muscle so much. I really talk about this a lot. When we think about it and we are constantly bombarded and surrounded by non-Jewish viewpoints on struggles or worries or stress or even happiness and how to find fulfillment in life, we sometimes get carried away and we're like, wow, let me follow this Instagram channel that's all about meaning and positivity. And it might be nice and it might be helpful and might bring out good things, but have in mind that it may not be in line with what we actually live with. Just like as we said, even if you are your car runs on electricity, you won't even think about stopping over at the gas pump and trying to like shove gasoline into the electrical connector of your electric car. So sometimes, even if it sounds similar, it sounds like, wow, they go through stresses and this is how they deal with it, we should also deal with it similarly. It's not the same thing because we are at core, we're different. We identify, not identify, it's not an identification. We are literally coming from a different source. Does that make sense?
We look so similar.
Correct. We look similar, we go through similar things, we all have struggles and pain and suffering and joys, and we're all searching for meaning and purpose in our lives. But have in mind that it may not be, not only may it not be, it's not like a choice like, oh, I could choose to look at it this way. It's like, even if it works for them, it doesn't necessarily work for us. We just have a different reality. So yeah, I really love this.
Where was I?
This is why, second to last paragraph.
This is why it's so important to start with the recognition that each of us is a neshama. It's that knowledge that makes it clear that we have to drive past the gas pump and turn for insight and guidance to the source of life and truth, Hashem himself, through his holy Torah. I always refer to Otisville as a place called prison. Choosing to identify with my neshama which was merely located there, and not with my body, which was incarcerated there. Having achieved that clarity, even my body did not experience incarceration. Unlike many others, I never had to resort to pharmaceutical tranquilizers or antidepressants to survive. Eventually, I also merited to be freed from physical incarceration and return home to my waiting family. Thank you, Hashem.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll share something about this, which I really loved from different things that over the last 4 years that I've heard Rabbi Shalom Mordechai or Bashkin speak, is that he constantly, even just the wording in this, Otisville, a place called prison, he constantly reminded himself who is he truly, because so many times we can be stuck in our struggle, in our pain, in our suffering, that we forget that we are a neshama. We really forget. We feel like we're in the same struggle. And I think having that constant reminder for all of us, and I bench everybody in this room and everybody outside of this room, that no one should have any struggles, no one should have any pain or any worries or suffering or anxiety. And if chas v'shalom someone does, to feel that, remind ourselves that we are not stuck in it. We are not prisoners to this pain. We are not prisoners to the struggle from the past, and we're also not prisoners to the worry and anxiety of what might come in the future. We are in a place called ouch. Whatever that ouch is for you. So we are in a place called not yet have a house. We are in a place called not yet have a husband. We're in a place called not yet have a steady parnasa. Whatever is our struggle, we're not imprisoned in it. We identify as the neshama, and we remind ourselves that Hashem is in charge. Hashem is taking care of us, and through that, I love how he said it, I never had to resort to pharmaceutical tranquilizers or antidepressants to survive. That's huge. That's massive. And he was there for 8.5 years. 8.5 years.
How old is he?
50 something. Must have been 40. Yeah, 50 something. It says in the other book, actually, maybe 54 if I remember correctly. I don't remember. But that's a lot. That's heavy. So to be able to go through struggles with such strength and such clarity and such, Hashem should bench all of us as we have that level of strength and clarity. And we should not be tested to need it. Okay, is somebody up for, Dina, would you like to continue or you want to break? Okay, so you don't have to be in the camera, just read into the.
Do you want to come closer?
Okay, great.
We're all here. What? Where's your watermelon now?
How do I put this on? I have no idea.
You can hold it if you want. There you go. Don't breathe into it. Just go.
Okay.
Okay, we're in chapter 2, page 6.
How many paragraphs should I read?
Until I tell you to stop.
Perfect. We could do this. Okay, Emuna. We are already possess certainty and clarity about the most fundamental aspects of life. Yidden are called ma'aminim, b'nei ma'aminim, believers, the sons of believers. When Avram Avinu recognized the Creator and passed the 10 Nisyonos, he merited that his descendants for all generations would have unshakable Emuna embedded in their neshamas. Our neshamas are one with Hashem. The essence of the neshama remains unaffected by the misleading world around us. It continues to inhabit the reality where everything is clear and truth is readily perceived. This clear-eyed aspect of the neshama means that even while he's living in this confusing world, a yid by his very nature is able to perceive the truth and reality of Hashem and godliness. This ability is a source of Emuna. Emuna is not what the world calls blind faith, a heartfelt conviction that takes over when the mind can no longer provide certainty. Emuna is certainty, a certainty rooted in the perception of the neshama, which sees and knows things that our physical senses and our minds cannot detect. The neshama and its clarity give the yid certitude about the truth of Torah. We can't see gravity or electricity with our physical eyes, but the eyes of our mind tells us that they're real and practical with absolute certainty. Similarly, the eyes of our neshamos can see the truth and the practical implications of that truth with certainty, even though it is beyond our physical senses.
Okay, so many times we especially in the last few years since Rabbi Bashkin came out, we're all about Emuna, Bitachon, Geula. What is, learn Shar Bitachon, which the Rabbi spoke about many times, that suddenly became very popular. Then there was so many different printings of Shar Bitachon, and it has become a topic. Emuna, the word Bitachon has become part of the Chabad lexicon, which it used to be, and it technically is part of Yiddishkeit, but now that we're using it more often and more consistently, I noticed that many times people don't know the actual difference between what's Emuna and what's Bitachon. So I wanted to clarify. I know that he's going to do a much deeper dive into it, but there's a beautiful aspect to this, which is Emuna, is the knowledge. It's not, as we said here, it's not blind faith. I'm like, whatever, I'm just gonna jump and hope that the air catches me. It's not a blind concept of just because the Torah says that God is true and Torah is true, I have to just follow it. Emuna is actually a reality, just like gravity is a reality and just like electricity is a reality. Do we always see it? Do we see that this water bottle is literally created by the letters that Hashem brought down in creation? Do we see that? Do we see that the table is the compilation of godly letters that makes it be? We don't see that with our physical eyes. But we have to know that it is the truth, and we already believe it. Does that make sense? We already know that this is it. Now, there's different ways of applying this, and we're going to learn how, as much as we don't see it with our physical eyes, we see how Hashem shows it to us, and if we're able to pay attention, if we're able to be in tune, and again, we started chapter 1 by saying, who do we identify? Who are we in essence? Who are we in essence? The neshama, exactly. So if we're spending time connecting to identifying as the neshama, so then it's much easier to put on our Hashem glasses, as the Chassidus logo talks about, and see the Emuna that already exists within us. Does that make sense? So now we're going to give an example of how this shows up in Torah, and then we're going to get back into the practical nitty-gritty of what is the difference between Emuna versus Bitachon, and we're going to cover that nicely.
We see this demonstrated in the various Bas calls, the heavenly proclamations that are described by Chazal. What would be the purpose of an announcement that is inaudible to its intended audience? Why announce "Return, wayward sons," for example, as described in Midrash Eicha, if the wayward sons can't hear it?
Can we take a moment to process that?
Yeah.
Okay? So many times in Torah, Hashem calls out something, but people don't hear it. So what's the point? What is the point if we're not hearing it? Right?
Right. No,
Okay.
100%.
So let's see what the answer is.
The answer is that they're not inaudible to their audience, even if they are inaudible to the human ear. The neshama, attuned to the reality beyond the physical, hears and is moved by these pronouncements, which we experience as otherwise unaccountable stirrings to teshuva. Clarity rooted in Emuna is the only proper foundation for life. Even our intellects only work when we have Emuna. It is only by basing our lives on Emuna that we are able to think clearly. People strive to make their decisions logically, but in real life, logic is not a compass, which always points towards true north, but a GPS, which obediently helps you get to whatever destination you choose. Our emotions or appetites often set the destination, and the mind calculates the route, improvising and rationalizing until you've reached your destination. Our eyes are so blinded by self-interest we may not even realize this is happening.
Okay, so let's take a moment to process that. Okay, when we think about is something real in this world, sometimes we say, can I see it? Can I feel it? Can I process this? Right? That's how usually we think, did this happen? Did I see it? Did I hear it? Can I feel it? Can I, grasp it with my hand? So we think as long as it makes rational sense, as long as it makes sense in my mind, then I'll believe it. Then it'll be true. Then that'll be the reality. But many times, and I'm sure if we all take a moment to really process our struggles or process our desires, right? So many times we know that maybe this might not be the right thing to do, but once we want it, suddenly we find, oh, but it's okay because of this, and it's okay because of that, or oh, maybe I could do it this way, or so logic, our brain, which we trust to be the definition of truth, we also need to realize that it's not always so true. Just like a GPS, right? What do you do with a GPS? You say, hi, I'm on this location and I want to reach that location. So what does a GPS do? It finds the best route, which is my way to get from point A to point B. Meanwhile, we think and we trust logic, we trust our minds to lead us in the right direction. But if we don't have something greater than ourselves, that could lead us outwardly. Does that make sense? I feel like I see a lot of confused faces. Okay.
The last part one more time.
Okay.
This is a very deep concept.
Yes, correct. Many people trust their brain and their logic. As long as it makes sense, then it must be true. Right? So when we think about Emuna, if I can't see God, so then maybe he's not real. Maybe he's not there. Maybe he's not, right? If I can't feel him, if I can hear him. So we think as long as it makes sense in here, then it'll be true. So we think logic is a compass. There's a true north, a true south, east, west, right? We think that is the truth, quintessential truth. When we really acknowledge what our brain does, it really reacts a lot more like a GPS. So for example, have you ever wanted a dessert, right? Never, okay? And let's say you weren't meant to have it, or maybe you're trying to not eat those things at this time of night, or maybe you're trying to not eat them for a week, right? Once that desire kicks in and we're like, oh, I really want that thing. So instead of saying, no, my brain is in charge and I should say no, we suddenly think of it and we're like, well, but maybe if only it's not so bad, maybe I'm not. So now we're using our brain not to tell us what is right and wrong. We're using our brain to get from point A to point B, which is our desire. We want to figure out excuses to get us to what we want. Does that make sense? So to trust just our brain, our logic, our intellect is not a good enough thing to tell us what's right versus what's wrong. And we see this in the world. How many people, even let's take it back in history, okay? So many people were shocked out of their brains when Nazi Germany turned out to be Nazi Germany, because the Germans were so brain calculated, logical. But if there's no right and no wrong outside of logic, we start using logic to get from a right thing to a not good thing that we think is right. Does that make sense? So back to the text.
When our forefathers said Nasa v'nishma, they were not only ensuring that their actions would be correct, they were also freeing their minds from the influence and distortion that the heart exerts in order to change the mind's conclusions and allow it to indulge in its desires. Unlike a foundation, a mere logic, the foundation of Emuna, the truth we perceive with our neshama, is robust and unshakable. There are always aspects of a given situation that our understanding does not cover, and there's always a counterpoint to our understanding an alternative way of looking at things that introduces doubt. Emuna, by contrast, covers every aspect in its simplicity, and because it's something that neshama sees, is not subject to challenges and quibbles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take a moment to process this, right? So now we just proved that logic in of itself is not going to lead us to right from wrong. So when we have Nasiv and Nishma, when we have the guidepost of Hashem is one, this is what he told us, this is the way we do it, the Torah is right, and there's no other way, so to speak, then we have a strong anchor that we can rely on to make decisions in life. So when we rely on our neshama, when we connect on our neshama, and when we rely on our emuna, which means we say, this is the way Hashem created the world, suddenly we can stand on 2 feet, solid ground. Not just finding excuses to get what I want or what I feel like or what I feel like today. And maybe today I identify as one thing and tomorrow I'll identify as a different thing. Whatever. So when we have solid foundation in Torah, we stand on 2 strong feet. Okay, I am aware of the time. Would you? I think maybe this might be a good pause point. Be'ezus Hashem till next week. If you guys want to read ahead, that would be super cool. Or even just reread what we did. I'll give you a little tidbit. Yeah. On page 7, second to last paragraph. That's where we stopped. I'll give you a little tidbit what really helped me. This booklet, not this one, but the one that's raggedy and destroyed in my apartment, sat next to my breakfast spot for months and months and months. And every day while I eat breakfast, I just read 1 or 2 paragraphs or maybe a page or however much I manage to get through. And then I really process it and I just think about how this applies to me right now. How can I spend my day, for example, from the chapters that we've learned so far, right? How can I spend today being more connected to my neshama, identifying more my neshama's needs and choosing them over my bodily needs, or seeing how Hashem can take me out of galus in this moment, as opposed to this is just the world I live in, life sucks and it's hard, right? So I suggest, you don't have to do it, but it might be helpful if you take a moment, whether it's before you go to bed or when you wake up in the morning, while you eat breakfast, while you're on your commute, just take a little tidbit of it. Don't read the whole thing. You don't have to rush through it. Take a little tidbit and say, how can I live with this little tidbit for today? Make sense? Okay. To be continued, Be'ezras Hashem.
Thank you.
My pleasure.